This is CBC Here and Now.
It takes a certain amount of resource to do the job, right? If you're going to do a surgery, you need an operating room. I need certain resources too, and without that, I can't do my job.
Giving notice. This doctor is resigning from Eastern Health. He says the province can't keep operating in crisis mode.
One of my favorite stories is that every child in the winter had to bring a log. So that's how they heated it, but that's how they learned how to kind of participate and to heat the space.
From an old schoolhouse to an artist's studio, we'll bring you to Deep Bay, Fogo Island. Welcome to Here and Now. We begin tonight with the ongoing healthcare crisis. As the province and the country deal with a staggering doctor shortage, an allergy specialist has decided to resign from Eastern Health. That doctor says he wasn't given the staff nor the space needed to do his job. Dr. O'Keefe spoke with the CBC's Heather Gillis.
So I resigned from Eastern Health because I no longer had the resources to meet my patients' needs.
Dr. Andrew O'Keefe is an allergy and immunology specialist. For the last 8 years, he's been working part-time with Eastern Health, treating people with immunodeficiencies, food and drug allergies, asthma, and eczema. He had some clinic time at the Janeway Hospital to treat children.
Over time, those bits and pieces of access that we had to the hospital became less and less, and it became more and more challenging to provide appropriate patient care with the resources that we had.
O'Keefe says he couldn't get the dedicated clinic space or support at the Health Sciences Center to do drug allergy testing for adult patients, something that has to happen at the hospital to be covered by MCP.
It's just safer to do it in the hospital where there's more support if someone gets very sick.
O'Keefe says he wanted to establish an allergy and immunology division at the hospital, but was met with barriers. He says that made him feel downtrodden. A resignation letter O'Keefe submitted to Eastern Health in mid-August says, quote, "I find myself no longer willing to participate in a morally injurious process whereby Eastern Health prevents me from providing the care required by patients in Newfoundland and Labrador." O'Keefe also believes the health authority isn't living up to its corporate values.
Well, it's difficult to listen to the kind of corporate talk about accountability, caring, equity, things like that, and then to be treated this way, it feels a bit like gaslighting.
In separate statements, both Eastern Health and the province say they can't talk about employment issues. Eastern Health says it works with doctors to allocate finite clinic space and other resources as equitably as possible.
Meanwhile, the health department says it is working on changes that would allow some low-risk allergy testing to happen in a doctor's office rather than the hospital when completed by a board-certified allergist. But Dr. Andrew O'Keefe says that change to MCP feed codes could take months or even years. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Atlantic Lottery is encouraging customers to check their Lotto 649 tickets. Someone on the Avalon purchased a ticket in Bay Roberts recently for last Saturday's draw, and it has yet to be claimed. And that winner is set to walk away with more than $15,600,000. More details will be made available once the winner or winners come forward. The RCMP in Happy Valley Goose Bay is asking people to be on the lookout after 20 rifles were stolen from a cabin during a break-in on Mud Lake Road. It happened sometime between Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon. Approximately 20 non-restricted rifles were taken. They include 2 Ruger semi-automatics and a Winchester Model 94 Special 30-30 rifle, which police say is a fairly rare firearm. A small antique hatchet was also stolen.
Well, today's picture absolutely beautiful out there. Live look at the Narrows right now. We do have some cloud cover in the area, but overall a beautiful day. 23 degrees right now, feeling more like 28 with that humidity and those winds right now out of the west around 20 kilometers per hour. So if we take a look at what's going on, we do have some showers working their way across the island, likely some showers as well along the west coast. And then we've got a front here that is sparking some showers up across Labrador. Some of those showers may be heavy at times as we head through the next next couple of hours. But we're watching the next system, this area of low pressure and a cold front that's tracking through Ontario right now, going to move across the province as we head through the next couple of days. If we take a look at where all that moisture is coming from, it's down along southern areas of the state. So as that cold front moves through, it's going to bring some heavy rain to parts of the maritime provinces. And then eventually, as we get into Thursday, we're going to see some of that heavy rain at times for parts of the island as well. This could spark some thunderstorms as well. And when we see this pattern, we typically see some fairly humid weather as well. And that's certainly going to be the story. I'll get into the full forecast coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, it's a delayed start to the school year for students at École Rocher du Nord. A note went out to parents and students yesterday saying renovations on the building are running behind schedule. For their own safety, teachers will not be permitted to enter the school until next Tuesday, September 6th. The start of the school year will be pushed by a week as well to give staff and administration time to prepare for the fall. And that means students will return to school the following Monday, September 12th. The French school district is asking parents to be patient and apologizes for any inconvenience. Well, after months of uncertainty, things are looking up for the idled fluorspar mine in St. Lawrence. And as Terry Roberts reports, that could soon mean a return to work for hundreds of people on the Burin Peninsula.
In a courtroom in St. John's, the fate of the St. Lawrence fluorspar mine is being determined. And this morning, a big step toward reactivating the idled mine emerged. Justice Alexander McDonald extended creditor protection for Canada Fluorspar Incorporated until mid-October. Why? Because there's a buyer. But more time is needed to formalize a deal that will enable the mine to avoid bankruptcy and permanent closure. With all the details locked behind a non-disclosure agreement, very little is known about the successful bidder. But there are hints of big plans.
My understanding, the intent of the successful bidder is to reopen the mine.
There were multiple bidders from around the world. Canada Fluorspar closed in February after it ran out of cash. Nearly 250 workers were cut loose. The mass layoffs hit families hard.
In the last few weeks, we lost our jobs, lost our medical coverage.
But the region has a long history in the mining industry and a capable workforce. Those weren't the only reasons, however, there was so much interest.
The market's quite strong for fluorspar during the proceeding, which helped the sales process, and the regulatory regime is in place, so it's a permitted operation. Those are some of the big factors that were positives.
I believe today is a very positive step.
The province's industry minister is confident the mine will reopen.
This is still absolutely within the purview of the court, still very confidential, but with the understanding that the mine will become operational again, I think that is a positive. So still details to be worked out. Don't want to get too high or low, but I see today as a very positive step forward.
The mine's future will be back on the docket on September 27th. It's expected that Justice McDonald will be asked to approve the deal on that date. If a deal is inked in late September, the question is, how long will it be before shovels start digging for this critical mineral once again in St. Lawrence? Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, according to a new poll, people seem almost as satisfied with the provincial government as they were 3 months ago. But according to Narrative Research, voting intentions have changed. The PCs have more support, 42%, up from 32% in May, and the Liberals have less, 40%, down from 48%. Support for the NDP is unchanged at 16%. When it comes to preference for Premier, Fury dropped from 40% to 31%. That's slightly more support than Dave Brazel. 400 adults were surveyed by phone. The results are accurate 95 times out of 100, plus or minus 4.9 percentage points. Well, today on Crosstalk, host Adam Walsh was joined in studio by a Ukrainian woman who recently relocated to this province. Marina Sikorska and her large family arrived in June, fleeing the war in her home country. As you're about to hear, they still haven't found a home of their own. Here's some of that conversation.
Our life was great. It was a very beautiful life. We have a lot of plans for future. My older son was go to the school. The girls was go to the kindergarten. They play hockey, and we enjoy our life before 24th February. We was on the road for 2 days. At first we come to Poland. Then after 2 months, we come to Newfoundland.
How often do you hear from either your dad or people back home? Like, how often is there a connection? Do you get to hear from people back home?
Yes, sure. We try to connect every day. Every day, my father knows that we're very scared for him, and he tried to call us every day. When he can't call, it's big trouble. Yeah. Because when he call us for a few days, my mom started to push him. I hope someday my father will come here and all our family will be together. The school will start and we know about this, and actually I have not big but stress for this, because I understand that children must have house. But ANC said that it will be not problem if we will stay in hotel for some time. The children will go to school. They will help us with this, and then when we will have a house, we can remove another school. You know, in Newfoundland, it's very difficult because my family is very big and we have a little dog, York Terrier. And when people say how much children in my family, they're scared. I think so. And unfortunately for this time, we can't find a house. But I hope everything will be okay. Just need a time. A lot of good specialists come here, not just medicine specialists. Yeah. It's lawyers, engineers, it's geophysicists. A lot of people want to help here. We have so much help from people, and we need to give back something, you know? And we want to do this the best. So everyone try to find himself here.
And Sikorska says that she wants to help as much as she can. She's also a family doctor. And during her chat with Adam, she said that she'll be meeting with the Minister of Health to try and practice in Newfoundland and Labrador as quickly as possible. Well, in other news, a Cartwright man is encouraging others to get crafty and fix their own fishing nets. It's a traditional skill he hopes to pass on to others in the community. It's also a way to conserve money. CBC's Heidi Adder stopped by his workshop.
Josh Burdett has been mending nets since he was old enough to hold a needle. It's a pastime for the Cartwright elder. His father taught him, and now he wants to teach others.
You're using your fingers, using your hands. And you start working at this and you forget about everything else. All the worries and woes go away, and you just concentrate on the knots that are in front of you.
He recently held workshops with people during the Nunatuavut Treaty celebrations, teaching people how to turn a 5-foot hole back into a working net. There's a number of ways a net can rip.
Those are called trout nets, and the twine is really small. Some of the big salmon gets in, and they'll go right on through. They'll tear a hole in the net, go through. Seals love trout and salmon. If one gets caught, a seal will come along. This one here, that's one that a seal would have chewed. If you're unfortunate enough to be around where the icebergs are too, the iceberg will get in the net and they'll tear up your net big time.
When there's a tear, it's time for him to get to work. He uses his father's needle and twine to slowly but surely repair the squares. Nunatuavut is planning more workshops in the fall. Burdett says he's been seeing a fair bit of interest.
Guaranteed there's going to be some silly people like myself that don't want to do it. Yeah, some people will for sure. And it's a way to save money. I mean, if you buy a net is going to cost you, I don't know, how much did the nets cost altogether? $150. So you get a hole like this, it's worth your while to mend it up rather than go and buy another net.
For anyone just starting out or looking down a large hole in their nets, he has some advice.
Practice. Yep. Sometimes you need to talk to somebody who knows, but it takes a while to get used to holding the twine and holding the needle and getting the hang of it. But it's a good pastime, good fun.
People can keep an eye on the Nunatuavut Facebook page for upcoming workshops. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Cartwright.
I'll just take a look at this incredible drone video captured by Motion Abdi of the Caribbean Princess cruise ship docked in St. John's Sunday, carrying more than 3,600 passengers. It's the largest of the season's ships. You're looking down at some of the 900 balcony staterooms. St. John's was the second last stop on the 16-day cruise, which floated around Greenland before returning to New York.
Wow, what a trip. Well, they had some nice weather. Looks like some more nice weather is on the way as well. Warm temperatures tomorrow, certainly into Thursday. I'll get into that forecast coming up.
Well, we've been talking so much about how beautiful this summer has been. Can't believe it's almost September, but it's always interesting to compare summers, especially like temperature-wise, and you compiled some of that data, right?
Yeah, typically show this a couple of times a year in the summer just to see how we're doing as far as those 20-degree temperatures go. Let's take a look. Here in St. John's, we are at 67 days of 20+ degrees in St. John's. And, you know, we still have another day in August, obviously, and then we have all of September, which typically on average, you see around 6 days of 20+, or last year, just throwing it out there, we saw 15 days. So if that's the case, we're on par to about what 2012 saw as far as those temperatures go. So certainly lots of summer left, hopefully. But if we take a look across the rest of the province, or at least some areas across the rest of the province, most are above your average. And then Lab City, you're almost there. But you should get there within the next couple of days as we see a couple more 20-day temperatures certainly in your future. So that's nice. Today we definitely did 23 in Lab City today. Those temperatures much cooler though for central and coastal areas of Labrador. Those temperatures will warm up as we head through the next couple of days as well. But lots of heat across the island. Where you're seeing those oranges there, some areas, Bishops Falls, 28 degrees today. And even Twillingate only showing 27 there, but you did reach 28 for a brief period earlier this afternoon. So definitely lots of heat in the air. Talking about humidex, which we have been for a good chunk of the summer as well. It's feeling more like 28 right now in St. John's, 31 in Gander, same thing for Badger. And as we head through the next couple of days, these humidex values are going to climb even more up to the mid-30s as we get into Thursday and even into Friday. So we do have a few showers working their way across, very scattered in nature, but you may see a few spits of rain over the next couple of hours with this. And then even on the west coast as well as up across Labrador, there's a chance you'll see a few showers over the next couple of hours as well. And then for the northern peninsula, some heavier showers possible as we get into the early morning hours. Same thing for southeastern Labrador in the way of a few spotty showers as we get into the early morning hours. And then because we're in onshore flow along the south coast, potential areas of drizzle and fog will likely develop through the overnight. Temperatures for you for central and really coastal areas of Labrador and towards the northern peninsula are actually going to climb as we get into the early morning hours, and that is because you're going to see a wind shift. So they're easterlies right now, but they'll become more southeasterlies as we head through the overnight. So about 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Temperatures mild across the island as well, again with that slight chance of some drizzle as we get through the next couple of hours, but other than that, you actually should see some clearing skies. Now, as far as tomorrow goes, not a whole lot. Maybe some areas of drizzle continuing in the morning, but then the afternoon, we should actually see some clearing skies for a good chunk of the province, even up across Labrador as well. Maybe a few lingering showers, but the heavier rain will move in for Lab West as we head through the evening hours on Wednesday, as you can see, and then head towards central Labrador into the evening and overnight hours. And then eventually we get back into that onshore flow with some more humid conditions. Areas of showers, drizzle, and fog will continue for areas along the south coast. And we're watching that front as well, as it could spark some thunderstorms. So speaking of rain, the majority of the rain will fall up across Labrador. You could see between 10 to 20 millimeters. This will fall through Thursday morning. And then as we head through Thursday evening and into Friday morning, that's when we'll see that likely heavy rain, some pockets of between 30 to 50 millimeters along the south coast. If you're in some of that rain, that will train more than likely, which just means you're going to see one shower after another. A band of showers anyway, you could see upwards of 50 to 75 millimeters. So definitely keep that in mind. Temperatures tomorrow warming quite nicely, 27 to 28 degrees. Again, that's because of southerly flow between 20 and 40 kilometers per hour. Some areas of fog and drizzle certainly possible along the south coast. Same thing as you head towards central, humidex values into the low 30s to mid 30s potentially as well. And then along the west coast, your temperatures between 21 and 27 or even 29 degrees for the Humber Valley. Now, Northern Peninsula, few showers certainly still possible for you, about 23 degrees, 26 in Cartwright. You're definitely on that roller coaster ride. Same thing for Happy Valley Goose Bay, back up to 25 degrees and then 20 in Lab City. So you're going to add another day, which means you're going to tie the average. So that's a look at the forecast for tomorrow. We'll look ahead when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Artist Bruce Pashik is surrounded by Newfoundland history and culture. You can see it in his work and all around his Fogo Island studio. During a recent trip to Fogo, freelancer Andy Bowman caught up with Pashik at his studio space in Deep Bay.
When you're presented with something you haven't quite experienced before, it's not easy to grasp it off the bat. I find what's interesting is that people gravitate to one thing. Oh, look at the head of the turtle, and everything else is ignored. Or they'll look at one mark and they've found what I call a portal, an entry into the work. But will they move out into it? It might be dismissed, or it might open up a different way of thinking about things. All of which is interesting to me. I think through conflict, especially internal conflict, that's where we learn to understand things. This studio is an old schoolhouse. And it initially was over on what is known as Nippard's Island here, because the history of this community, it's a fishing community, and all the stages in the fish plant were over in this little island. And so this was just more or less a stopping off point. But when the moratorium hit, they actually moved over to the island and settled here. And they brought the schoolhouse over with them. I've got two stories. I heard one person told me that it was floated over, but primarily they said that most likely they brought it over in the ice when it was frozen, because this bay freezes in the winter. And you can see in the middle of the room there's a hole, and there was a potbelly stove. And one of my favorite stories is that every child in the winter had to bring a log. So that's how they heated it, but that's how they learned how to kind of participate and to heat the space. But most interestingly, 4 women came in here one day and we were talking away, and they were very proud of the fact that this was their shed. Primarily shed culture are the men going out and having a few drinks, and it's usually exclusionary of the women, right? But I like the idea that there was that gender flip here. So I like that because it fits nicely with my art ideas too. I'm going to jump to a piece that I'm working on right now, which is really linked to the island. And so what I'm playing with here is the nostalgia of fishing culture, the memory that the fishermen basically have in their heads of what it was like to be out there. One fisherman, his name is Aubrey, he was telling me that when the water's like this on the right, when there's lots of purples and there's lots of deep blues, the fish aren't there. So when the water's like that, the fish are there. So I thought, because that's, I love playing with dualisms, the idea that, so here, not only is it a diptych, but I didn't even know. I found through my own sense of practice that I captured something historically. So I found that absolutely fascinating. So this piece has become very endearing to me. And the friction of being bothered is really important to the way I want you to basically feel a sense of uncomfortableness, but at the same time, take you possibly to another way of thinking about things, as opposed to shutting down, actually going into another direction. So it stays all connected and fluid, but forcing you to rethink things.
A A runner from Port Hope Simpson recently held an unusual fundraiser. He called it Run the Strand. It involved him running 50 kilometers along a remote stretch of sandy beach in Labrador called the Wonder Strands. The goal was to raise money for Diabetes Canada. Dean Burden is here now to tell us more. So, Dean, can you start by talking a bit about the Wonder Strands for those who are unfamiliar with that area? What is it and why did you choose that location for your run?
The Strand is 50 kilometers of pretty much pristine beach. It's in the foothills of the Mealy Mountain National Park. I've been wanting to do it. I've been an avid runner for years, and I just felt that this was another one I needed to check off my list, right? So,
how do you get to the Wonder Strands?
I left my hometown, Port Hope Simpson, on Sunday afternoon. Traveled by vehicle 200 kilometers into Cartwright. The next morning, I had Jeff Martin and Patrick Davis pick me up by a speedboat. Go about 2-hour drive in speedboat, drop me off in what we call the north end of the North Strand. From there, the boys followed me along in speedboat because it's frequent by black bears and that. Well, we saw quite a few, and some of them were pretty close.
When you saw the black bears, what did you do?
I was required by Nunatukkavut, that was the people that were sponsoring the run, to carry a mobile VHF and bear bangers. The bear bangers works real good. It's just you tread up a little banger, fire it up in the air, and the bear has a bit of a panic and runs to the tree line or what, right?
But it must be pretty nerve-wracking to be in this isolated area and come upon more than one black bear.
Yes, it was kind of sketchy there for a couple times. There was one that I kind of came out to the tree line to the beach, and the boys were waiting for me. And when I came out through, they had drove 3 or 4 just down the stream a little bit further from where I was. And when I came out through the woods, there was a big black bear stood up on his hinders looking at what the boys were doing. So when I came out through, I kind of spooked him, and he really spooked me. So I just bolted up the sandbar a little ways, and the boys got his attention, and we fired a few bear bangers, and he just left them.
I mean, the remoteness of it is one thing, the wildlife is another thing, but it's also quite the distance to run. 50 kilometers, that's longer than the Boston Marathon, plus you're running in sand, which is, of course, much more challenging than pavement. How grueling was the actual run?
I've done a number of major long distance runs, like I've done 100 kilometers and that, but it was more you couldn't push off with your toes as you would on pavement or on hard ground, but it was more of the quads got into it a little bit more, and you had to bounce yourself along, right? So it was a little bit different, a little change up, that's all.
How long did it take you to run the full distance?
I was at a little over 6 hours.
Wow. And how did you feel at the end of it?
I don't want to see the Strand for a long time.
I bet. And now you did do this run to raise money for Diabetes Canada. Can you talk about why you chose to support that particular cause?
Diabetes Canada is an amazing organization. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law has diabetes. I have 2 nieces that's diabetic, and I have a 3-year-old great niece that's been diagnosed shortly after she was born, and that's like diabetes is around all of us, and if we can do a little tiny bit to help out and change our lifestyle a little bit, maybe we can turn the tides on this. Hopefully, I raised $3,800 as for my run, and Nunatukkavut, the group that sponsored us, they came on board and matched dollar for dollar up to $2,500. So the total was like $6,300, right? So I was just blown away. I was amazed at how many close people to me, and people that I don't even know had private messaged me on Facebook and that, telling me what an awesome job I've done and how they're living with this illness. And it's kind of hard to talk about. Some of it is, right?
That must feel pretty good.
yes, it feels amazing that a little run like that can maybe help somebody else out.
Was this a one-time thing, or do you plan on doing this again or making it an annual event?
We have to go through Parks Canada and Nunatucket to make this an annual run, so that everybody, then everything that we can raise would, like, say, imagine if we had 15 runners show up on the strand and they all had a portion of money raised to go towards diabetes. Like, this could be one of Newfoundland and Labrador's biggest races and biggest fundraisers. We could, in 20 years, hopefully I'm still around to do it and to doing this, and maybe a lot more people can be also, right?
Well, it's certainly a challenge to put out there to other runners in the province. Dean Burden, thank you so much for telling us about it.
Thank you for showing your interest, and guys, let's get a handle on this diabetes thing.
Well, who could possibly forget those massive lines causing chaos and congestion in the Goulds? We'll take you back to the summer of 2017 for a game of Chase the Ace. That's ahead. We're about to dip into the Here and Now archives for a trip back to 2017. In the Goulds, that was the place to be that summer. That's because every Wednesday for more than 40 weeks, tens of thousands of people poured into the parking lot of St. Kevin's Parish, lining the sidewalks, bringing traffic to a standstill, all hoping for a shot at drawing the lucky ace and winning big. 5 years ago today, the epic Chase the Ace draw came to an end. Zach Gowdy brings us this look back.
What's it like here this morning? Everyone knows it's the last day.
It's good, you know, it's nice but it's sad. Like, I mean, it's so, you meet so many people and it's been awesome. I really like it.
What's going to be what will be your biggest memory of this summer of Chase the Ace?
I've met a lot of new friends. You know, we're going to miss it all. I mean, we get together in the mornings, we get together in the evenings, and it's just like this big old garden party.
A lot of fun. It's like big
People
family here. Yeah, it's great.
Got a hot cup of tea. We're
Yeah.
good for a while on the quilt.
Got our coffee, and right after this, we're making it to work.
Hopefully, don't tell our bosses we're here.
And it is
It was a $1 million moment. Dawn and Marge Gorman, a couple from Conception Bay South, their lives and many others changed with one turn of a card.
You know, my husband, we wrote down the tickets right on a piece of paper, the numbers. And this ticket, he come up to me after, he said, I think it's one number we didn't write down. And I said, okay. So we wrote down that one. And then after, he said, he was after putting it in the other pocket again, and that was the lucky ticket.
The Gormans are splitting their winnings with 3 other couples, all in their family. Marge, a home care worker, says she plans to retire. The big win capped off an unprecedented day in Goulds, even by the standards of this unprecedented event. An estimated 100,000 people lined up for tickets in a staggering, snake-like queue that seemed to go on forever. Many waited more than 5 hours in line, and thousands who had stood on their feet all day didn't even get tickets. They sold out just before the 8 p.m. cutoff time. A frenzied finish to a story that grew and grew all summer, capturing our collective attention in a way that so few things have the power to do anymore. It also grew to dominate life in the community of Goulds. Today at St. Kevin's Parish Hall, several people were out on their own initiative, helping get their town back to normal.
Drove by on the way to an appointment, saw a lot of garbage. By the time I got home, I grabbed my daughter and I said, let's go. Broom, rake, box of garbage bags, and we started up at the church and worked our way over, and then a couple of more people showed up and more people, and now it's looking as clean again.
Clean, but not the same as before. Not with more than $5 million sitting in the church's bank account.
I'm waiting to see what they're going to do with it, because they surpassed the amount of money that they wanted. I mean, they only wanted to do a little fixer-upper, and now they can do what they want. And I hope it goes a long way, like into years and years.
It's been a long chase, but though the game is over, this story goes on. Zach Gowdy, CBC News, Goulds.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced some new initiatives in the federal government's ongoing affordable housing programs. Over the next 5 years, Ottawa expects to spend $2 billion to build thousands of housing units.
Through this fund, we will be investing to create 10,800 housing units, including 6,000 affordable units. We're also creating a stream under this fund for a new rent-to-own pilot.
The money, which was allocated in the last 2 federal budgets, will come from the Affordable Housing Innovation Fund. Today's announcement falls under the National Housing Strategy, which was launched in 2017. It's a 10-year, $72 billion plan to create more housing across the country. Heavy fighting is being reported in the Russian-occupied regions in South Ukraine. An unverified video appears to show Russian forces shelling Ukrainian positions near the city of Kherson. Ukraine's military claims to be taking the fight to the Russians in a pushback to win the territory back. Farther north in Kyiv, a team of international nuclear experts is visiting Ukraine today. The UN agency wants to visit the nuclear power plant in Ukraine, now under Russian control. Volodymyr Zelensky has long called for external intervention to avoid a radioactive catastrophe. Concern over shelling near the plant remains high. Nearby residents are being supplied with anti-radiation iodine tablets. Local authorities are also conducting drills to prepare for possible contamination. Well, Estonia has remained a staunch supporter of Ukraine ever since the Russian invasion more than 6 months ago. Earlier this month, the Baltic nation even removed a Soviet-era monument. Estonia has also closed its border to Russian tourists and is pushing the rest of Europe to do the same. Briar Stewart has more from the Estonia-Russia border.
I'm in Narva, Estonia, in the eastern part of the country, and just across the river, which only spans a couple hundred meters here, lies Russia and the community of Ivanogorod. Now, this is quite a picturesque but also surreal location because you have these two historic fortresses facing each other across the river. Over there you have the Russian fortress with the Russian flag, and on this side there's the Estonian fortress with the Estonian flag. And both sides of the riverbank and the countries are connected by this bridge, which is called the Friendship Bridge. It's a pretty ironic name when you consider just how much this relationship has soured. In fact, Estonia has put in place a visa ban that will affect tens of thousands of Russians from coming here and transiting through the EU. But it only affects Russians who hold Schengen area visas issued by Estonia. So they're prevented for coming over here and doing things for tourism or for business. But there are exceptions made for Russians that are coming over here to visit family. Estonia, along with Latvia and Finland, are calling on the EU to put in place similar measures and to do more, to actually restrict more Russians. What Estonian officials say is they don't think it's fair to have Russians over here enjoying themselves on vacation when you have a war raging in Ukraine. But this issue is very divisive for the EU. You have countries like Germany and Italy and France that don't want to put in place a ban. They think it's too punitive against ordinary Russians. But Estonia has said that if the EU doesn't act altogether, it's prepared to move forward on its own. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Narva.
My experience in Gander was deeply moving and it changed me forever.
I have never, ever met anybody as nice as the people in Gander.
You ought to be so proud of everybody here. We're so thankful.
Well, when it comes to getting to work, one BC man is taking the plunge. He's not carpooling or biking. Twice a week, Brent Hobbs does a 2-kilometer swim across Lake Okanagan, towing his laptop and a change of clothes behind him. Our CBC colleagues were there to meet the 54-year-old on his way to work.
Oh, just super refreshing, eh? Yeah, during a heat wave, no better way of getting to work. It's nice and cool. It's just me and the carp. Sometimes I see the beaver in the morning. He makes his rounds from Mill Creek over to the sanctuary by Tugboat Beach. I followed him in the morning once. Once I got too close to him, he slapped his tail at me. I said, okay, you know, be sensitive to wild creatures. I swim. I've been swimming my whole life. I do marathon swims. I train for triathlon. I'm an avid bike commuter. If there's an epic snowfall, I'll cross-country ski to work. You know, I look for innovative, non-carbon polluting ways to get to work, and it's healthy, and I get exercise, and it's a bit off the wall. And I meet interesting people doing this. I meet tourists from all over the world who says, what are you doing? They think I swim across the lake, and I said, well, what does it look like I'm doing? I'm commuting to work. And they go, no way. And I go, yeah, here's my work bag. Let me show you what's in my work bag. And I'll have my laptop in there. I double bag the laptop, not to worry. And I got my work clothes, my change of clothes. I work in healthcare, so it can be pretty stressful at times, and so it's a great way to relieve stress. I burn about I do about 3.5 kilometers. So in a day, I get home totally refreshed. And it's about 3,000 calories burned. But more than that, I'm having fun.
He makes a pretty good argument for that, actually.
Absolutely. What a great way.
Yeah.
I guess it's just like cycling, except
right.
He's in the water.
We would definitely need to tow hair dryers with us as well.
Yeah. And also suits, because it's freezing in the ocean for sure.
Oh, good point. Yeah, very different here than BC.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some temperatures. How's the long range forecast looking?
Well, we do have some more 20-degree temperatures in the forecast, which is certainly
good.
nice, but we also have some more humidity as well. So let's take a look at what's going on as we head through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Lots of shower activity, will be heavy at times for parts of the south coast, and we could see some of that make its way towards central and even the west coast as we head through the afternoon on Thursday. Most of the eastern half of the island, though, either increasing cloud or sunny through the day. So actually looking like a pretty nice Thursday with those temperatures in and around 24 degrees at this point. Looks like pretty similar really across the board. Between 20 and 25 degrees will be the afternoon highs on Thursday across the island, up across Labrador. Still holding on to those 20s for southeastern portions as well as Happy Valley, Goose Bay, but then back into the teens for you in Lab City. Around 14 degrees will be the daytime high. And again, you're looking at those showers moving in. Now, I do have that shower icon in for St. John's, and that's because as we head through the overnight on Thursday, those showers are going to make their way further east. And again, these could be heavy at times as we get into Friday morning. Eventually, that will clear as we head into the evening hours. They may linger a little longer for central and likely cloudy as well, but overall those temperatures will still be into the 20s, and we're also going to feel that humidity as well as we continue to see that southerly flow. Now, in behind the front, though, those winds will change and some drier air, especially up across Labrador. So about 17 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Again, some lingering showers possible towards the coast. Around 16 for you in Cartwright, and then along the strait, not too much of a change either. You'll be hovering around 17 degrees as your daytime high. Now, taking a look at the long range forecast, still lots of 20-degree temperatures in the forecast. Also Thursday, forgot to mention, it'll be a bit breezy across the island with those gusts between 50 to as much as 60 kilometers per hour. As we head into Saturday and Sunday, those temperatures will be into the 20s, and then those overnight lows not dipping dipping too much, between 15 and 16 degrees as the overnight lows. And then for central Newfoundland, by the time we get into Friday, you should actually see some clearing skies, leading to what looks like at this point an absolutely beautiful weekend with about 21 or 22 degrees, but the overnight lows will start to dip as we get into Sunday. And then for western Newfoundland, by Saturday and Sunday, you are also looking at some sunshine. So definitely a nice looking weekend to start to the long weekend, really, because Monday is the start, well, Tuesday is the start of school there. So Eastern Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures dipping on Friday. And then as we head into Saturday, generally between 21 and 24 degrees. Some showers will move back in as we head into Sunday. And then for Western Labrador, nice little stretch there on Friday and Saturday, but then dipping as we get into Sunday. We're looking at those temperatures around 11 degrees and some shower activity for your Sunday. So overall, not a bad looking forecast for sure, but I wanted to share this photo with you, I should say. This is red sky at night, Sailor's Delight in Marystown. I believe this was last night, so Julie shared this great shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, you have to love those colors. Just beautiful. Thank you so much, Julie, for sending that along. So many beautiful shots we've been getting this summer.
Absolutely.
I'm just loving it.
And I can't believe, I know we talked about this yesterday, but already into September.
Yeah.
And then we'll see some even more. The leaves will start changing.
Oh, yes, and then we'll get even more beautiful photos.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's the long weekend this weekend, too. It looks like some pretty good weather for
decent.
much of,
decent.
the province.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then it looks like we're going to see a bit of a cool down, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll worry about that later. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Good night.